Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in the state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Everyone else is a victim of the theft, the deceit, the dishonesty, and the lies that corruption feeds on. You need to know that a corrupt person is stealing from you. Corruption is filthy work and despicable acts of treachery done under the table and behind closed doors. Corruption is a disgusting shame. Corruption keeps a nation back from true development and from progress. Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and...
Wagwan family. Guys, good evening, guys. Right now we have, we're going to talk about, we're going to play. We got the PNP press conference to go on right now, but before we go there, people, we're going to talk to retired FBI Will Rattigan. We're going to talk to him, come off here from today. I tried to get him, but he was busy. Here his thoughts about what went on in court today, the Constitutional Court regarding Paula Llewellyn. Brother Rattigan, good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon, Carlos. Well, everything.
Well, everything mellow, you know. We just we're feeling good, and you know, Herb feel good. Me ask him how him feel. Based on me know say him have a cold. Him say him feel better based on what me in a court today. So tell me how you feel about what happened in a court today, my brother.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It was a victorious day for justice. It was a jubilant day for justice because what happened was a complete violation of the Constitution, and this court decided to right the wrong that was done when the government decided to extend the DPP's tenure, even though she didn't have a tenure to extend. But they went ahead at warp speed and they changed the Constitution to accommodate this. And so you have to ask yourself the question, why did they do this? This is something that's never been done before. Why would they do this for her? Do you remember no, Carlos? She reached the age of 60 where the Constitution says you must go. However, the Constitution also provides that you can stay for one extension, up to 5 years. And it was decided to give her 3. So she spent her 3. And now she was supposed to leave last year, and they went and they changed the Constitution so she could get another one. And you have to ask yourself the question, why is it that they're so bent on having her in place? And that doesn't sit well with me, and it shouldn't sit well with any Jamaican at all. Because look, she's not a legal superstar. I know that based on a lot of cases, including the Vibes Cartel case, right? And then when they ask her at one point, they ask her, why is it that you want this extension? And I believed, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe she said that there are some things that she wanted to stay and see through. There's some projects or whatever she had that she wanted to see these things through. Now, Carlos, when she reached 60, she saw those things. And they gave her 3 years, within which time she could have fixed those things. So what is it she's going to fix now in another extension that she didn't fix for the 17 years or however long she's been there?
Good question.
And my understanding is that she's been at the head for about 15 years or so, but she's been there much longer than that, right? So I'm concerned, and I'm not surprised. Well, to be honest with you, there's a little part of me that's kind of surprised that they would even appeal it. But the appeal tells me something else. It tells me that they really want to keep her there, and the question is, for what? For what? There are people who are eminently qualified to take over that job right now who could step in tomorrow. They have Jeremy, who's a deputy. They have Kathy, who's I think another deputy. And there are some more people that I'm aware of. So why is it that they're just so bent on keeping her there, Carlos? What do you think?
Well, something that smell good, just like at the same question, Herb was on earlier on the next show, and Dr. Rupert, and everybody what I talked to there, so like she's there as a goalkeeper or something, So same question we all ask.
Yeah, she's there as a goalkeeper and a gatekeeper and a protector. Because I suspect that they feel like, hey, a lot of things. Because here's why it's suspicious now. Under the Constitution, the DPP has tremendous power. The DPP can start a case. The DPP can end a case. And the DPP can take over a case. So, for example, if the corruption prosecutor decided that, just for the sake of this conversation, that she wanted to prosecute the Prime Minister, right? Anytime before a decision is rendered in that case, up to the time that the jury is deciding, the DPP can come in and say, listen, we're withdrawing this case. And guess what? There's nothing anybody can do. Nothing anybody can do.
That's the power she has.
So the DPP, she has tremendous power. She can start a case, The corruption prosecutor could come in and say, the clerk, so the clerk, some can prosecute case. They can start prosecuting a case, and the DPP come in and say, no, I'm going to take over this case, and take it over, and there's nothing anybody can do. So again, to remind the audience, the DPP, under the Constitution, can start cases, can end cases, and can take over cases. The only cases they should have jurisdiction in as far as the criminal realm is concerned is military cases. They have their own tribunal that handles that.
Yes.
But when you talk about the other cases, the regular criminal cases, she can start to take over. So, brother, I don't know if they are keeping her there to protect certain cases from being prosecuted, or cases that have been scheduled for prosecution, if she's going to take it over. I don't know, but it just seems it just seems suspicious. Actually, it seems highly suspicious that they might find. Now, you know what happened now? If the DPP has any integrity, if she has a conscience, right? If she cares about the will of the people and the sanctity of the court, then what she would do is just simply say, take on myself.
I see too. True. I feel the same way. Wow. You think she they might think about me? See them say them appeal it, Ratty, so them still a fight. Me don't know for what.
Yeah, they say no appeal it. But the question is appeal it on what basis?
Well, they try to appeal the ruling when they violate the Constitution and the SOE, where the PNP party won them and have to pay this young man $18 million and open him up to lawsuit from a lot of Jamaicans. So them try to appeal that, and the judge kicked that out. So let's see how this one roll. You remember that?
Yeah, it's an uphill. I'm not familiar with that case, but it's an uphill battle though for her. It's an uphill battle.
No, but the case, man. Remember there was arresting people without charges under SOE, right? And
yeah. I remember.
Yes. So what I'm to Ratty. So that means to say she'd been operating illegally from last year. That means based on what we are getting, understand the court ruling. That means or tenure is unconstitutional. This extra extension is unconstitutional. So this means that she's been operating illegally since last year, since the extension?
Yes. Because that's what they're saying. They're saying that all of the things that they put in place, except except the act of amending the Constitution, they're saying that procedurally that was correct. But everything else that they do was incorrect. Now, here's a problem now, Carlos. Problem is this. From the time that they passed the amendment and kept her in place until now, she has basically supervised, presided over, whatever term you want to use, cases that were prosecuted by her office. Right? And there's an argument now that says that all of those cases, and some of them resulted in convictions. And now there's an argument that says all of those cases, they're no good. They're no good because what you had an illegal DPP.
And that may I ask?
Yeah.
That's why I want you on today, you know, the law mind to tell me what I want, because that's my question. I want to cartel case. What happened to other cases where she probably prosecute since this illegal extension?
Yeah. So I'm not on those cases, them right after the throat, them cases there. They're going to consider, but don't put it to you like this. If I were a defense attorney and I represented somebody who was convicted from last year, September, October, to now, I'm going to file something to get the conviction quashed.
And that may I look on?
I'm going to file them. Yeah.
So hold on there. Hold on, Ratty. Hold on, make us stick up in there. So Vibes Cartel case, how that look at this moment?
Well, Vibes Cartel case is a little bit different because remember the conviction took place way before her term expired.
Yes.
And then what happened also, the Privy Council ruled against her. So that case is safe.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the cases now where they end up with people being convicted.
Yes.
That is a separate problem.
Since the illegal extension.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So it's going to be a big problem, my brother. It's going to be a big problem.
So
and the thing about it is that here's another thing, too. The court ruled that, my understanding is that the court ruled that she had to leave, right, forthwith, right, today. Right?
Yes.
Now, if them file an appeal, the question is, will she continue in her role until the appeal is decided? Because if that is the case, she's still good on the reason for her to want to steal, she still have to fulfill that.
Yes. And it's looking more obvious, Ratty, based on what they're doing right now. It look more obvious to even the blind man can see like something is not right, even if he never thinks so before. You can see like she did if it cover something. Why the fight? Why she hang on so? She don't just leave with a little reputation that she have left and salvage and go where she go. And that's what I feel.
Because here's what the longer she still know that issue about cases that have been decided under her watch. That issue is not going to go away. This is only going to get longer. And so when at the end of the day, when the appeal is failed, then people will look and say, why the hell did she continue to remain DPP when all of them things are at stake? What she should do now? You know what she should do now? She should just take herself, go up and leave, and just wait until the appeal is over. She shouldn't continue staying. Shouldn't continue in the role.
Can you imagine? She had that all eyes and cross, all T's and do what she have to do fast because she probably thinks she don't win that case, you know, and sit down tonight, you know. Why?
Of course.
I would say as the first female DPP out of Jamaica, she created history because she's the first female DPP, and she in there for a long time, and it's only sad to see how she does, you know, just like Nigel Clark and all of them were coming there shiny and looking beautiful, is looking kind of soiled at this moment right now. Their reputation is questionable.
Right, and she look, she created history. And it's in the first instance, it looked good because, you know, women are just as efficient and just as proficient in the law as men, right? Mm-hmm. So a woman definitely, you know, it was good for them to realize that and say, okay, I found we're going to put a woman there. But no, she make history for the wrong reason.
That's true.
She make history for the wrong reason, brother.
Jaja.
So, yeah, like me say too.
Jaja. But you know what I say, Ratty? From the other day, I see these people stumbling over themselves. And Jamaican don't even get up and protest and raise a voice. They are just damaging themselves. Started from the House Speaker chastising the clerk of the House by writing some letter where she have no reason and no power to write that to the woman. That was a black eye to the JLP party. There was Nigel Clark with this big budget presentation. Is a big flop. There goes another black eye. How about Orlando Terelang? Nobody tell him to post that on his page. Went out of his way and post a picture that blacked out the PNP prime ministers on his page. Another black eye. And this again, Ratty. Self-inflicted wound after self-inflicted wound.
That's true.
A bad man. So let me ask a question while we got you here, Ratty. What do you think about?
That's true.
What do you think about?
That's true.
What do you think about Terelang? What he did?
Terelang. That gentleman there. That gentleman is a well-learned man, but a well-read man, but he needs to read some more, brother. Mm-hmm. The man is a disgrace to the profession and disgrace to thing there. That man come out and make some statements over the last 5 days or so. Mm-hmm. That no, thanks, sir. And just the man seems so incompetent. He makes statements in the call-off, like 3 to 5 people in the diaspora cause problems with the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. 3 to 5 people. Wow. I thought it was a dirty 30. But then from the dirty 30 to 5 people now call us.
5 people now?
Want him go? Yeah?
3 to 5 people. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want him to do, right? What I would have wished him to do is call him. Because he will call us. Just take a look. Take a look, like I said, just take a look at the press conference. Sorry, the press release. If you take a look at the press release, you will going to find Carlos. You're going to find that at the bottom of the page is 30. So that means they have 29 pages missing. So they keep 5 on people. Because they put out 29 press release from the year start. So they might keep 5 on people. So they don't have millions. So we have said, no man, call them. Call out the people and name who are mash up the diaspora. Call them. Them.
They need to. Jaja. So
call them.
Wow. I will put in a Ratty. I will put moving parts and I have to pay attention. We have to pay attention. Look here, Ratty. I want you to listen to this because Terelang after he post this thing on his page, right, Ratty, we can see the cleanup on aisle 6. That is not gonna work. People are not idiot. He post that on his page, right, and then get when black out the PNP prime ministers that are childish. You say are coming to the diaspora.
Okay.
So remember we are saying Ratty is the arm of the government. This diaspora council, whatever them got going on over here, that's what most people in the diaspora say. It is an arm of the JLP government. And by him blocking out the PNP prime ministers, it does prove us right. Right? Then he come out and say Ratty is one of his little aide or somebody around him posted it. And that's not his style. That's not his style. But Ratty, you hear the cleanup? He said that's not his style. But listen to this, my brother. Listen to this. Who is gonna blame for this? Listen to this.
We are rebuilding places that never had water or light for decades. We are rebuilding St. Thomas and giving St. Thomas roads and banks and amen, church. Those are the things that my sister says, big highways and byways, amen. That is significant signs of the development. So it makes a difference which government represents your Jamaica. Because
you hear that? It say it make a difference. It makes a difference which government represent your Jamaica. In the Church of England, you know. So who am I gonna blame for that? It makes a difference. If I tell about all this good stuff for the JP party I do, and him say it makes a difference which government represent your Jamaica. Isn't that a political speech, bro? In that church?
Who was that speaking?
Terry Long in England.
Okay.
Him said that it makes a difference who represents your Jamaica. So who am gonna blame for that? Is his little aide? Tell him to say that.
No, here's what I'm now with that now. As a leader, and I've learned this, as a leader, when something like this happens, you don't come out and talk about it to somebody. You come out and say, listen, I take full responsibility for that. As a leader, you don't put the body under the bus and not talk about your content manager or whoever it is. Who do that? You just come out and you just say, listen, folks, it's unfortunate that it's happened, and I sincerely apologize and I take full apology. That's how you perform as a leader, brother.
All on the Ratty, don't say that another word there. But want the people them to listen this good Ratty, and if you never hear it good, more you hear it again. Because him blame him aide or whoever around him, his social media handler, for blocking out the PNP prime ministers. Who is he gonna blame for this coming out of his mouth in the church?
we are rebuilding places that never had water or light for decades. We are rebuilding St. Thomas and giving St. Thomas roads and banks and amen, church. Those are the things that my sister says, big highways and byways, amen. That is significant signs of the development. So it makes a difference which government represents your Jamaica. Because
you hear that? Church in there, you know. Who am I blame for that? In aid? So it show you, it goes along with the picture when Blackout writers saw. It show the whole agenda is a labor right thing. I walk out in the diaspora. I look money for army and know I look support for the conference in Jamaica. It shows that the PNP is not a part of it. Or anybody who not believe in the JLP agenda?
Well, Carlos, we have to work cut out for because what I'm true, we don't stand on the side of truth and justice, and we don't care about party, we care about people. We don't care about color, we care about policies.
Thank you.
Right? And so what we have to do is just say, you know what, call it out for what it is. Call a spade, and then we leave it like this. So we bring it to the people on doorstep, so the people become aware of what is going on. Because them things that you're right. You're right, he's politicizing the whole thing. But you know what? We should not expect a better from him, you know, Carlos. We should not expect a better from him.
Jaja.
We shouldn't.
Then you gonna put up hey Ratty, me know so you're busy, man. I'm go 5 and 10 minutes, me beg you. Thank you, brother. For your
Carlos, You call anytime you want me, just call me. I'm at your service, sir.
Yes, sir. Respect our manners. We call to action later. We need to chat.
All right. Okay, Carlos. Take care now.
Bless her. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, man, that is the Will Rattigan people, retired FBI Will Rattigan, and you know we have Herb Nelson later, and we have to be strong for the country. Now, people, now, so after this big blunder, pan him page, people, this is why I'm come out with. We have a timeline, you know. We're going to play the press conference, but we're going to finish wrap up this thing with this guy right here. So after that, now, him have a timeline where the brother, after he get bust out now and people start slapping him around verbally on social media, him come out with something like that. Put a picture with him and Portia up there after him done disrespect the thing. You see that? That couldn't work out. People already seeing, see a disrespect. He said that is not his style. He said that is not the way him go about things. You know, he wouldn't black them out and basically him tell you say it's not political. But listen for yourself one more time. Him in the church, I preach politics. Listen this.
We are rebuilding places that never had water or light for decades. We are rebuilding St. Thomas and giving St. Thomas roads and banks and amen, church. Those are the things that my sister says, big highways and byways, amen. That is significant signs of the development. So it makes a difference which government represents your Jamaica. Because every single one of you, you have families and...
When you hear people, now, you hear that? Playing for yourself, guys. It's all about labor rights. It's all about politics. You can't blame the aid for that. So, guys, make we get down in a business now. Can we come up and play Mark Golding press conference? That me come up and play now. The PNP press conference after the court hearing today. Make we go down tonight. I'm going to beat CVM there. CVM TV, come here. CVM TV. How come we don't have Mark Golding press conference sideways, horizontally pan ono, like almost upside down, sideways pan ono thing. At big old TV station like a ono. Who could have hold the camera sideways? Is it deliberate? Is it deliberate? CVM TV? We don't have big old CVM TV. It may go pan right now to play the audio offer. But me couldn't play the video. If me play the video, I have to edit it and flip it over. And the audio I'm going to play because the whole thing sideways. If you go on YouTube and look on it, big old CVM of the World Press Conference sideways. Is this an accident, CVM TV? I want to know. What are you up to? Come on, man. Come on, man. Is it an accident? What in a politics? In a what? Me not understand. Eh? Come on, man. Embarrassing, man, to media. Even vloggers know better than that. Even we vloggers now put out not like that family. Even vloggers now put out not like that CVM. What you do? Even vloggers know for hold the phone and know for hold the camera, CVM TV. And the PNP have a press conference. I'm going to go on YouTube, go on CVM TV page. And say the damn press conference turned sideways like it's a 4-year-old holding a camera. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. But anyway, I'm going to listen to it.
Rule on it. The reason we did this is because, first of all, as parliamentarians, we all swear an oath or affirm to uphold and defend the Constitution of the country. And we're living in times where we have a government which likes to play fast and loose with the constitutional right.
Guys, we not hear good? Because we want to know, say, are the PNP a fight for the constitutional rights, you know? People, me and a PNP, you know? And me and a labor right, you know? Come here, but 2x4 are soak in a aisle back there that means if Mark going and step out of line, Carlos now partial nothing, you know? Because a country me I deal with, you know? Someone want to know. Listen, people, tell me if you're not here. I'm going to the comment section. You hear the man? Before we go further. Somebody say, loud and clear. Romy, Wagwan. Romy. Long time I don't see you know about enough love, Romy. Thank you so much to hang out with the Romania Parkinson, who know me from my little boy. I walk barefoot. Enough love, sister. Enough love.
Of our citizens and with the normal principles of good democratic governance in the country. This is not the first occasion on which the opposition has had to play this role of assiduously guarding the Constitution from a government that is intent on violating it in various ways. There were, for example, this NIDS case, the case of the NIDS legislation, which again was rushed through Parliament with undue haste, when we warned the government that it violated constitutional rights of our citizens to privacy in the form in which it had been presented to Parliament. They chose to ignore our request to have that legislation be properly reviewed by a joint select committee, and we had to take it to court, and the entire legislation was struck down by the Constitutional Court, and the government had to wheel and come again and bring new legislation to deal with the question of a national ID.
Ja.
There, of course, the state of emergency and the use of the states of emergency by this government, which we have said is not consistent with our constitution, and we have brought proceedings before the Constitutional Court to test their use of it. And those are pending proceedings which will come to trial in due course. There's also an earlier test of the constitutionality of the state of emergency brought by a young man called Rushin Clark, where the court ruled in his favor and awarded substantial compensation because he had been detained under states of emergency in circumstances which the court agreed were not in keeping with the Constitution. And there have been other instances, the attempt to appoint a Chief Justice on a probationary basis, unheard of in the history of Jamaica and indeed other jurisdictions, which civil society and ourselves objected to fundamentally as violating the separation of powers principle, where the Prime Minister took it on himself to think he had jurisdiction or power or authority to review the performance of our Chief Justice and decide whether or not he should continue in office. And before that, there were these undated letters of resignation signed by JLP appointed senators as an attempt to give the Prime Minister leverage over them in relation to the CCG legislation that was being brought by the then government of the People's National Party. And those were tested by two, I think it was, or certainly one or two senators on their side when the letters were used by the Prime Minister to remove them. And that was held to be an improper device and a violation of the Constitution. So we have been vigilant in a variety of matters, and this most recent one is very, very important. It is groundbreaking because this was a bill to amend the Constitution that they passed, and the basis upon which it was challenged was because we felt that the way in which it was seeking to do this was both for an improper motive, but also was in violation of the constitutional arrangements to do with how a DPP can have her tenure in office extended. As you know, the current DPP had received a 3-year extension prior to her 60th birthday in accordance with the procedure that the Constitution provides, and the Governor General approved of that extension. And her tenure of office should have ended in September last year, which was the end of that 3-year period. The government, for reasons which one can only speculate about, sought in July last year, just before the summer break, to rush through this legislation to to amend the Constitution, not only to say that future DPPs and Auditors General would retire at the age of 65 rather than 60, but also to apply that to the existing incumbent. And that is where they violated the Constitution. And that attempt was struck down today by the Constitutional Court. It is quite clear that the tenure of the existing officer that has been holding that position since September last year came to an end, that the attempt to extend it was invalid and unconstitutional. And I therefore call upon the Services Commission to proceed with alacrity to embark on the process for appointing a new DPP the advertising, etc., should be done. And in the meantime, that the Governor General, acting on their advice, Service Commission advice, should appoint somebody to act in the position. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just part of what has been happening in our country in terms of gross violations of the normal precepts of good parliamentary democracy and good governance. We know about, for example, the situation in our parliament in relation to the former clerk who, on the eve of her retirement, after decades of service to the parliament and to the people of Jamaica as clerk to the House of Parliament, was a recipient of a letter which wasn't a private affair, but was emailed to all parliamentarians and became public immediately, castigating her, criticizing her in relation to the issue of how reports which come to Parliament from the Auditor General in this case were being dealt with, and saying that she had committed essentially a disciplinary infraction by not carrying out the ruling of the Speaker, and that the letter would be put on her file. As it turned out, the Speaker had to back down on that issue of those reports, and they were indeed, when the Auditor General sent them back to Parliament, the reports having been returned to the Auditor General, when they came back to Parliament, they had to be tabled, and they were tabled. And they were tabled in circumstances turning consistent with that ruling, a ruling which we think is flawed, and we've said so all along. And we are calling once again for the opinion of the Attorney General's chambers on this matter, which we've been asking for months and months, to be released to all parliamentarians so we can see what the Attorney General's chambers said about the procedure for tabling reports. And this is a matter which we will be looking at closely as to whether we're going to have to take this matter to the courts for a ruling as well. But in the meantime, we're asking once again for this legal opinion to be released. That opinion is not an opinion belonging to the Speaker. The Speaker acts on behalf of Parliament in seeking the legal advice of the Attorney General on a matter that affects all members of Parliament, and indeed all parliamentarians, including the Senate. And the opinion that was granted, was issued by the Attorney General, should be shared with all parliamentarians so we can see what the principal legal advisor to the government has said on this matter. And ladies and gentlemen, I would also just mention there are other issues that we have been raising of grave concern. The role of the political ombudsman and the way in which that has been conflated into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, making the electoral commissioners collectively as a body the political ombudsman, is a flawed approach. We objected to it when the legislation was brought to Parliament, and it was rushed through again with indecent haste. And of course, it has not worked because the local government elections have come and gone, and they were unable to effectively play any role in dealing with the kind of issues that the political ombudsman is established to deal with. Issues which are highly contentious, often involve partisan considerations, and which ought not to be brought under the ECJ, which is a body established to ensure consensus between the major political parties on electoral matters, so as to reduce tensions and ensure that our democracy can function in a way that is in keeping with good governance, law and order, and a peaceful society. Coming out of a history that we are all aware of, where political violence was a big problem in this country in the past.
Guys, just a little commercial break. I'll be right back.
I hear man talk a kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie! Me not take no salary increase. So my salary is what it was before. And I tell you something, I feel like just keep back to. Because he's a proud man, you know. Me don't like people tell lie for me.
Guys, that was your thank you for your patience. That was your Honorable Prime Minister.
So this is another issue where we feel the government has gone down a very wrong path. But they are stubborn and headstrong. And it is only when we take them to court and win there that they have to reconsider, wheel, and come again, as was done with NIDS, and as will have to be done with the DPP. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My two colleagues, Senator Scott Motley, Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell, who was one of the two co-applicants in the case. The case was brought by our Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Paulwell MP, and our Leader of Opposition Business in the Senate, Senator Peter Bunting, who is unable to be with us this afternoon. But it was a case that was brought to uphold and defend Constitution of the country, principles of good governance, and to avoid the manipulation of the power of the majority and the tyranny of the majority in Parliament to undermine good governance in this country. And that is something that we will consistently and strenuously resist as opposition in accordance with our duty to the people of Jamaica. Thank you.
Opposition leader, the Justice Minister says the government intends to take a stay of the court order. What do you think we should do? Meaning, should she take leave pending the appeal, or would it be okay with her continuing?
Well, the legal advice that we have received today is that this is a declaratory judgment that the Constitutional Court has been made, and there's no jurisdiction to grant a stay of a declaratory judgment. You can appeal it, but it stands as a declaration of what the law is, unless and until a higher court rules otherwise. So our position is that the DPP, or Ms. Llewellyn, is no longer the DPP, and has in fact not been the DPP since her 63rd, birthday, in September last year.
People don't hear that. So the whole time it wanna take plane guy, England about no taxpayers' money. I wonder what kind of 5, 6, 10-star hotel she go. I wonder what she caviar she near man fish egg. I want she eat over the taxpayers' money. She not pay that back. No, sir. All of England and Supreme Privy Council. People all of England and them fish egg. People. The whole time the woman in the illegally. You see, I will put money they spend in Jamaica in the wrong place, you know. Members said they must spend over $hundreds of millions per empty building when nobody know in it, you know. And they must spend money per empty. The woman know, Lord God, me could listen, sir.
There is a provision in the Constitution, I think it's section 96, subsection 2,
No,
that
sir.
would validate her acts as DPP between then and now. But now that the ruling has been made, she can no longer hold herself out or perform functions as a DPP. And a new DPP should be appointed in accordance with the procedures which have been established for that. And somebody needs to be appointed to act as DPP in the interim.
So what should happen on Monday then?
I would say that what should happen is that the Services Commission should recommend to the Governor General quickly to appoint somebody to act as DPP. And that's quite normal, happens frequently when an incumbent DPP has to go on leave or whatever. That should be applied and done quickly.
We've already received information about disruption in proceedings in a court in St. Anne already, where the judge brought proceedings to a halt. To what extent, because the person representing the DPP office, she had concerns about it. But I'm just quickly reading what her correspondent sent here. Senior attorney Oscar Smith was in the middle of a bail application. The trial judge said both him and the lead prosecutor they had to stand down because of the new development. To what extent are you concerned with the uncertainty that this will create in the DPP?
It's highly undesirable that there should be continuing uncertainty in the DPP's office. Indeed, that uncertainty has existed from the legislation was brought to Parliament in July last year. And we pointed out why we thought it was invalid and unconstitutional. And the court has approved that and has upheld the submissions to that effect. And obviously, any continuing uncertainty is highly undesirable. The court system must continue to function. There are many, many cases in the system that need to be dealt with in accordance with proper procedures and due alacrity. And that is why I think that it's important that the Service Commission and the Governor General quickly appoint somebody to act. And they're very capable persons within the DPP's office, senior prosecutors who can act competently until a new DPP is appointed in accordance with the Constitution.
What implications do you think this may have, sir, on cases that the DPP would have been involved in since the extension?
As I said before, I believe those are validated, and those acts are validated by virtue of Section 96, subsection 2 of the Constitution, which specifically has that effect. Now that the court has ruled that the incumbent is not the DPP and has not been since September last year, that can no longer be applied to validate anything going forward, and a new person must be appointed to act until a new DPP is duly appointed. But in the period from the date on which her tenure really ended in September last year and the ruling of the court today, I believe that those actions on her part would have been validated by the Constitution, Section 96, subsection 2. And that
People, out of many, me not trust him either. Me not trust GG. He like he's saying anything such man send come give me. I wonder if I get free black drum. If I get, me no know what I go on with him, you know. The GG just collect a little, me call this what I go on and before they get me mad there, man. Sure.
that's the advice we have received.
Spoke about what the Services Commission needs to do. How about Ms. Llewellyn? What are you calling on her to do at this point?
Well, my own view is that, it is highly undesirable that somebody should hold office as DPP in this country, knowing that his or her tenure is a matter of grave concern to the opposition of the country.
Embarrassing,
It's
man.
not a good thing for the office of the DPP to be in any way politically contentious. And I think that in light of today's ruling, Ms. Llewellyn ought to stand down and should, not seek to make an effort to continue to hold that office in light of the ruling that the court has made today.
People, can you imagine? We're gonna watch this because the right Chuck said them are go appeal this. Like them all fight it to the end like Chucky. Why would a woman sit around there and allow herself to be mapped on the floor? Allow her reputation to be wiping Riverton downtown where the sewage run across the road, Coronation Market. Why you allow your reputation to be mapping up the whole of Jamaica? Look here, woman. Why you not just go on?
Spoke about appointing a new DPP, at least in the interim for the new DPP. What do you think the process should be? I know you mentioned earlier that the post should be advertised, but if that is not done, then what?
I believe that there's an established procedure as to how a DPP is appointed. I believe there may be some guidelines and so on, and we expect that those will be followed. Indeed, my understanding is that when an attempt was made early in 2023 for an extension to be granted, and that came before the Service Commission, and they pointed out that there was no possibility of it being further extended, they had indicated their intent to proceed with advertising the position so that a new DPP could be appointed by September when the incumbent would no longer be in office. But that was to some extent superseded by this legislation that the government rushed to Parliament, which has now been struck down.
And people would like to make a statement.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start by placing on record my appreciation to our legal team.
But that was to some extent
headed by Michael Hilton and in fact the team for the tremendous work that they were able to do to enable a significant victory. We have been at pains to say that this was a fundamental legal point. And really, the current DPP wasn't the subject of this issue, but rather the broader legal principle. I have been in Parliament for 29 years, and there is a way for the democracy to work. If you're an opposition of 14 or 31, you're an opposition, and respect is due. And we have found that that has not been the case since 2020, where little or no respect is given to the opposition. In fact, the government has removed our oversight position in relation to most of the committees, and we're again calling on the government to replace the chairmanship of these committees with the opposition. there is a role for the leader of the opposition, and the court was unequivocal in that regard today. We are lamenting some of the recent incidents in Parliament. The leader has just mentioned about the Speaker's letter to the former clerk. We are insisting that that letter be withdrawn and the appropriate apologies.
Sorry, guys, it's time for another commercial break. We have to pay the bills over here.
I hear man talk all kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie. Me not take no salary increase. So my salary is what it was before. And I tell you something, I feel like just keep back to. Because he's a proud man, you know. Me not like people tell lie for me.
Sorry, guys. Thank you so much.
Be given in public. So we are pleased that the role of the opposition, which is really the guardian of the Constitution, has really come to the fore this time. And we believe that there are some other issues that will have to be pursued in similar vein.
I want to join with Member Paulwell in first of all thanking the legal team for the tremendous work which they have done, and singling out perhaps Mike Hilton Casey, who has been the lead in a number of constitutional actions which we have taken and others which are pending. This administration believes that because they have been elected, it is their sole duty to govern, and they need not listen to anybody at all. This has been their shortcoming, it has been their failing, and there are other matters pending apart from these that are behind us, which will demonstrate the folly of their ways.
So they say, more come. So the PNP fight, wrestle the Constitution away from such man who thinks him a dictator, violate Constitution, violate human rights. You know I'm to leader who violate human rights? You know I'm to leader who violate human rights. Serious judgment. Ask Adams. Let's continue.
I want to call on them on this occasion to stop hiding behind legislation. And I refer in particular to the use of the Data Protection Act by the Tax Administration Department on a matter which, firstly, there was hesitation to table in the Parliament, and secondly, now that the media has requested further information, they are being refused. That is not good governance. It is not good governance when you table a bill and debate it immediately. The country deserves to have their parliamentarians scrutinize legislation to ensure that when it's passed, it is fair, it is just, and it will be upheld by the courts. And I am saying here today that there are several pieces of legislation which give me, in my capacity as shadow spokesperson for justice, gives me great concern. The Firearms Act is one that I have spoken about time and time again. And I have pointed out that not only do I doubt its constitutionality in certain areas, but certainly it does not serve justice well, because it is creating a backlog in the courts where persons are refusing to plead guilty. And why would they? If they plead guilty, it's the same 15 years as if they are tried and sentenced to 15 years. And it was under Mark Golding as Minister of Justice that the Criminal Justice Administration Act was amended to permit those people who pleaded guilty to get what we call a discount on their sentence.
We have for another commercial break? Okay.
Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way. Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way.
So that the courts would be able to take that into account, and which defense counsel, such as myself, would be able to say to a client, let's plead guilty because we know that you won't have to serve the full time. I am imploring the public to take good look at what is happening in Parliament. And the constant consternation which takes place now, since certain changes have been made, not just with the chairmanship, but look at how they walked out on their own government when the leader of opposition, who was representing 52% of the people, was speaking. These are very important things. Never before in the history of the Parliament did you see a government walking out on its people, its duties, and its responsibilities. And since then, it has been spiraling down. I have every confidence that the leader of opposition, who believes strongly in the principles of law, the principles of good governance, and the principles of accountability, will fix those things when the time comes.
Guys, for the one them just come, this is the PNP press conference right after the Parliamentary Constitutional Court hearing. Remember the PNP took them got court. It was Bunting and Palwell, Phillips took them to court. To the PNP took them to court to consider to fight for the Constitution because of straight violation. So the court ruled today that her tenure is unconstitutional since they've increased our time. You know, the last time we didn't give her some length, some increase at time. Yeah, they've increased our stay. Since then, she was operating illegally the whole time, my people. Can you imagine that? So all them people she lock up and all them things there, like we just asked Will Rattigan earlier, him said all those cases have to be reviewed. Me say to myself now, say, she gone all of England and all them places, they gonna enjoy, you know, nice. She can you imagine the hotel where she go stay at England on taxpayers' money. Can you imagine all of that? Can you imagine the hotel where she go spend time at on taxpayer money? Can you imagine the type of restaurant where she go on taxpayers' money? And the whole time she was in there illegally. Eh? Can you imagine? She should be in there. It basically is what the judge ruled today, people. So before we go further, people, make we take another commercial break.
I hear man talk all kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie. Me not take no salary increase. So my salary is what it was before. And I tell you something, I feel like just keep back to. Because he's a proud man, you know. Me don't like people tell lie for me.
Motive behind the extension of DPP for the one who speak from explain what you mean by that.
What I would say to that is that to apply that legislation to an incumbent who was facing imminent retirement indicated that the motivation for doing it and the way in which it was rushed through was primarily about trying to maintain that individual in the office. And I'm not going to get into why that may have been the case in terms of what was their thinking as to why this was so critical. They have said what they have to say on that at the time. I don't find it convincing at all, but I think the way in which it was done speaks for itself. And I also want to just publicly acknowledge the legal team that took on this matter, led by Michael Hilton, King's Counsel, for their professionalism and their erudition and their willingness to take cases like this really in the interest of good governance of the country. This is not and should not be reviewed as or looked on as a victory for a political cause or political party. This is a victory for people of Jamaica and the good governance of the country and the upholding of our Constitution, which is the seminal document that ensures that the rights of our people are protected. And I think it's very important that we say that on the record so that people will regard this appropriately. Thank you.
Mr. Golding, according to Mr. Palwell, this was not about the holder of the office, but both you and your predecessor have raised concerns about the holder of the office. Had it been someone else in the position, would you pursue the same course?
Yes, we would have, because the issue was not primarily about who the incumbent was, but was the way in which it was done and how it was essentially bypassing an established constitutional procedure, which was very clear and had good reasons behind it, in a way which the Constitution never contemplated. Yes, it is true that my predecessor, when the original extension of request for an extension of the DPP's term of office came up, had said that we didn't support it, and the reasons were put in writing, and so on. But I don't want this to be about that individual. I want this to be about the principle at stake.
It's clear the government does not intend to back down and intends to push this further into an appeal. It could go as far as the Privy Council. Is the PNP ready to continue?
Absolutely. This is a point of principle. The court has ruled in a way which we think is correct, and that upholds the issue and the concern and the cause that led us to bring these proceedings in the first place. And to the extent that it's appealed, we will be vigorously defending that at the appellate courts, whether it be Court of Appeal in Jamaica or the highest court, which still.
While the PNP continue to fight for the constitutional rights of Jamaicans, we go to another commercial break.
We don't put the Lord first. And I want to say to you all that as a parliamentarian and as a minister of government, that I put the Lord in front of me at all times. And amen. And it is because I have put the Lord in front of me at all times, that is why I believe that I have yielded some success as a parliamentarian. And I want to say that the same is true for our Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. He might not be a New Testament, he might not be Baptist, etc. He is, however, Adventist, which is one of the larger denomination faiths in Jamaica. And he too has certainly stated that before we do anything as a government, before cabinet meetings start, before we start any groundbreaking, whatever we do in Jamaica, we could be opening a school, opening a hospital, it doesn't matter. There is always prayer recognizing that once God is in the mix, then failure is not ours, because the Lord has said that I promise that I will prosper you and do you no harm. So it is indeed a pleasure to be worshiping with you today.
Hallelujah.
Unfortunately, because we have not managed to fully decolonize SIS in a foreign land.
And then just two final points. You have suggested that the DPP's current tenure, regardless of any appeal, is untenable.
It's at an end.
It's at an end.
It has ended.
What if Madam Llewellyn decides to stay in the post?
I don't want to speculate on that issue. I think in light of paragraph 172 of the judgment handed down today, that would be a most unwise thing for Madam Llewellyn, Miss Llewellyn to do. And, you know, I hope she doesn't seek to.
People, if she ever do that, can you imagine she goes sit down in there and hold on? Can you imagine, people? It's like she already show her hand in there already, you know. Make them beat up the Constitution to keep her there. And now this, people, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. She get her first extension after she retire, you know. She should have taken her first extension. When the second one come, them and have to grape, strawberry, and orange, the Constitution to keep her there. She should have said, no, sir, no, you don't have to do that. That's cost too much. You don't have to, you know, mash up you understand, amend the Constitution to keep me there. Something look fishy. And the people are going to look at me a certain way and question my integrity and my character. So why this woman never got along with the little character and little integrity? When she have them time there? No, she has been used as a map for the Labour Party and a Riverton dumping down a field market, in the fish market, all of them sewage water run downtown at the road. She have map up there. She have been a map for the with her character. She's the first female DPP. All of that down the tube for what? Don't tell me any money. I would never sell out my character, my dignity, and my integrity. Man, don't be used as a map. Lady, go home. Salvage whatever integrity you got left and go on home, mama. Go on home, mama. Enough video me ever tell you say, what sweet you go sour you. Remember, you know? Me video them out there. I'm going to tell you say, I'm not obey man, but me can't see things. Remember, Carlos tell you say, what sweet you, I go sour you. Let's continue.
To do that.
And then just finally, the matter of the Auditor General's reports and the Integrity Commission reports as well. As you've noted, the Speaker of the House has sort of backed away from her initial position. Does the PNP see a need, if potentially, to bring it further to say a court as you've done in this matter?
We may well, because the position that was taken in relation to the two reports, one on the tax administration, Jamaica, and the other on the FSC, and her final inclination to table them was as a result of immense pressure that was being brought to do that. She has not said, the Speaker has not said that the ruling which she gave late last year no longer applies. And that suggests to me that they will continue to seek to be able to delay the tabling of reports. And I must tell you that I believe the motivations behind that are entirely political. And I think it's quite wrong. So to the extent that this matter remains unclear and uncertain, we may have to seek clarity on it.
No, why not settle this in the Standing Orders Committee? I realized there was a meeting scheduled, I believe it was last week, which did not happen. Why not settle it there?
The reason for that is that the basis on which the ruling has purported to be made is not to do with the standing orders. It purports to rely on an interpretation of actual legislation, which we feel has been wrongly interpreted, which is why we want to see the Attorney General's opinion, because we don't think that the Attorney General's opinion supports that ruling. If it did, I'm sure we would have seen it back when the ruling was made. The fact that there's this prolonged resistance to share with the Parliament and the members of Parliament the opinion of the Attorney General's chambers on a matter very important to the Parliament is abhorrent, poor governance, and should not be allowed to stand.
I should say, though, in relation to the Standing Orders Committee, that we are going to be present at that committee sittings. We have some far-reaching proposals to make, especially in relation to the role of the Speaker. The government is a majority, and I suspect we might not be successful, but we're going to press for substantial amendments to the standing orders and to allow the opposition. There are some issues, for example, private members' motion. It's Jackson, the party leader. We've been trying to get the opposition to initiate certain things. Those have been stoutly, strongly prevented by the government. There's a role for the opposition. And I don't believe that enough credence is given, and some changes will have to be made to allow for the opposition to have greater say in the running of the Parliament and in advancing legislation to better enable our people.
Reports were sent to the Parliament this week from the Integrity Commission. Parliament is now on break. What would be the posture of the opposition once Parliament resumes?
Parliament has been convened to sit on Tuesday. We will see what happens then. My understanding is that those 5 reports should be tabled. We don't know what the contents of the reports are, what issues they address, but they must be tabled so they become public documents. That's what we require. I would just add to what our leader of opposition business in the House said, that we have impeachment legislation, which was tabled by me as leader of opposition a couple of years ago. It was a JLP manifesto promise to bring impeachment legislation within 180 days of them being elected in 2016. They didn't do it. And after the George Wright affair and the beating of a lady with a stool in a car park, I saw the need to bring it forth, and it has been tabled. I have been seeking to have it referred to a joint select committee so that it can be properly reviewed, and public persons of interest or people who have an interest in it can come to Parliament and speak to it so we can have good legislation and a good impeachment procedure. I have been unable to get that bill to move anywhere.
Okay, we'll take the final question from TikTok. This person is asking, if the Prime Minister made a request, will you agree on an extension of the DBP's tenure?
Before that answer, people, let's go to a commercial break.
I hear man talk all kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie. Me not take no salary increase. So my salary is what it was before. And I tell you something, I feel like just keep back to. Because he's a proud man, you know. Me don't like people tell lie for me. I hear man talk all kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie!
Changes will have to be made to allow for the opposition to have greater say in the running of the parliament and in advancing legislation to better enable our people.
Reports were sent to the Parliament this week from the Integrity Commission. Parliament is now on break. What would be the posture of the opposition once Parliament resumes?
Parliament has been convened to sit on Tuesday. We will see what happens then. My understanding is that those 5 reports should be tabled. We don't know what the contents of the reports are, what issues they address, but they must be tabled so they become public documents. That's what we require. I would just add to what our leader of opposition business in the House said, that we have impeachment legislation, which was tabled by me as leader of opposition a couple of years ago. It was a JLP manifesto promise to bring impeachment legislation within 180 days of them being elected in 2016. They didn't do it. And after the George Wright affair and the beating of a lady with a stool in a car park, I saw the need to bring it forth, and it has been tabled. I have been seeking to have it referred to a joint select committee so that it can be properly reviewed and public persons of interest or people who have an interest in it can come to Parliament and speak to it so we can have good legislation and a good impeachment procedure. I have been unable to get that bill to move anywhere.
Okay, we'll take the final question from TikTok. This person is asking if the Prime Minister made a request. Would you agree on an extension of the DDP's tenure?
No, I would not. The Prime Minister has no authority or power to make such a request.
Hold on there, people. The most important question is people, these are the most important question. No, sir. Then laugh. No, sir, let me back this up a little bit. So I know I miss. We're there too long. We make that part apart. Okay, pull you up a little bit. Listen to this.
Which was tabled by me as leader of opposition a couple of years ago.
Embarrassing.
It was a JLP manifesto promise to bring impeachment legislation within 180 days of them being elected in 2016. They didn't do it. And after the George Wright affair and the beating of a lady with a stool in a car park, I saw the need to bring it forth, and it has been tabled. I have been seeking to have it referred to a joint select committee so that it can be properly reviewed and public persons of interest or people who have an interest in it can come to Parliament and speak to it so we can have good legislation and a good impeachment procedure. I have been unable to get that bill to move anywhere.
Okay, we'll take the final question from TikTok. This person is asking if the Prime Minister made a request. Would you agree on an extension of the DDP's tenure?
No, I would not. The Prime Minister has no authority or power to make such a request, and it would be an unlawful act to do so. And certainly on my part, it would be a violation of the Constitution to be a party to any such thing. It is totally unnecessary. There are persons within the office of the DPP who are experienced and competent and diligent. And one of them, and it's not for me to say who that should be, one of those persons should be appointed immediately to act as DPP, and the procedure to appoint a new DPP must also be initiated forthwith. That is what the Constitution requires at this time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, members of the media. Thank you for your time. All the best.
Opposition leader can publicly emasculate Philip and Julian. They may not have people to speak up for them, but let me tell you this: don't touch Juliet.
I hear man talk all kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie! Me not take no salary increase. So my salary is what it was before. And I tell you something, I feel like just keep back to. Because he's a proud man, you know. I don't like people tell life for me.
Opposition leader can publicly masquerade Philip and Julian. They may not have people to speak up for them, but let me tell you this. Don't touch Juliet.
Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way. Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way. Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way. Don't reverse yourself. The original you was a better you. Don't reverse yourself that way.
Wow. People. Thank you for watching this video, people. How you feel about this video? Guys, put it in the comment section. I will power work me alone in the studio, man, and a producer. I just call us alone in here. Just me. Me alone will put things are going. Will put brain work. And me alone there, people. Hey, at this point of this video, I'm gonna Sister Debbie Jervis and let me see who else in the audience I can call out to. Sunshine, and I need it's a big crowd, real sweet. Could you please hand around the offering plate, please? At this moment, we're gonna ask for likes and share and all them beautiful things. Come on now, pass on the offering plate. Give it with love, store it above. Give it with a willing heart. Give it with love, store it above. Give it with a willing heart. Give it with love, store it above. Give the likes with a willing heart. Hey, give it with love, store it above. People, give it with a willing heart. Let me tell you how them people think about me. Listen this before no go. Me have a piece of brata. Hold on, the people. Hear this.
Delano, we have not looked at community tourism the right way, you know.
Yeah, that whole community tourism piece needs a complete reset, and we know that, which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, because they were just making money and doing nothing. Yeah, that whole community tourism piece needs a complete reset, and we know that, which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, because they were just making money and doing nothing.
Delano, we have not looked at community tourism the right way, you know.
Yeah, that whole community tourism piece needs a complete reset, and we know that, which is why we kind of decided to cut off a lot of the people who are hanging on to the community tourism thing, because they were just making money and doing nothing.
We are CPR chain. We go to TPDCO. All right, them tell us certain things that we need to do, and we do it. So I don't say why. We go to TPDCO, and now I can't operate my RAF. All right, so that means TPDCO will refund my money and other the guys them.
But when CVM Live questioned these allegations, they were refuted by senior strategist in the Ministry of Tourism, Delano Seavright.
We had many consultations with them. We had many discussions. The police had many discussions about what is coming, and they did not take it seriously because they think government is just all talk.
Wow. I hope you guys hear what I'm going to say now. That is a plan for tourism because them not care for you. No stay there, play a game around here. Guys, as usual, I am a student in your guys' class. Let me hear how much of a Christian the Prime Minister is before we go. What a God-fearing man. Hold on, make you hear my talk.
I hear man talk a kind of lie. Oh, 20 million and 28 million. Lie.
We don't put the Lord first. And I want to say to you all that as a parliamentarian and as a minister of government, that I put the Lord in front of me at all times. And, amen. And it is because I have put the Lord in front of me at all times, that is why I believe that I have yielded some success as a parliamentarian. And I want to say that the same is true for our Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. He might not be a New Testament, he might not be Baptist, etc. He is, however, Adventist, which is one of the larger denomination faiths in Jamaica. And he too has certainly stated that before we do anything as a government, before cabinet meetings start, before we start any groundbreaking, whatever we do in Jamaica, we could be opening a school, owning a hospital, it doesn't matter. There is always prayer recognizing that once God is in the mix, then failure is not ours, because the Lord has said that I promise that I will prosper you and do you no harm. So it is indeed a pleasure to be worshiping with you today.
People, thank you guys for watching this video. Like I said, as usual, I am a student in the guys' class. Please make sure your comments make sense in every sentence. If this is the first time on this platform, you like the work and the interaction in the comment section, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Facebook. If you don't like what we do, please, we know on a bag of doodle, we know on an issue to you, we know on a trouble. Just hit that button and find another page with your rage. Thanks to all the new people that were on the platform, you know. Yeah, man, manners and respect, man. At Jamaica, where I say, this platform is neither PNP nor labor right. Because I have a piece of 2x4, I'm swinging, I'm broke up verbally, Andrew, I'm verbally broke up Mark Golden. I have a piece of 2x4, I soak in a piece of some oil for Mark Golden. So any DM get out of line, me not ramp on the platform of people. It's all about Jamaica. I'm a grandpicking them. After politician now feed me and pay me rent and put food on my table and clothes on my back. How I don't know people? I could fight for grandpicking them. Nobody can buy me out, you know, black jumma, no fertilizer, no chicken, and no feeding. We hungry too much, we hungry belly, we long got too much. I don't make them a rule me. Long got, man, I don't know. They say when them out the country, you say them want to get rich. You say take on a water truck, I'm going to do the truck. You know, so I go on. Take on a water truck and go. Take on a water truck. See, there we got Ben's truck. I know about that about look for particles in our water and all that. Look what we used to have. I'm going on to all them do the truck and deliver water. We are here. The Parliament have come out, but look out for particles in the water, look for discoloration in the water, smell for bad odor in the water, check hose and fittings where company truck. Now, your mother, your father, they are Jamaica, tank run out of water, call them pick their friend and say, Nelson, in the water in the tank, you know. He say, all right, mama, no worry. Tomorrow, I'll send anybody come here. Well, said, no, no, question you, no, miss, how much water? Well, they say $40,000 if you will. Yes. All right, mama. Me I send the money come. Grandmother get the money. Canel so go down there for the Dan go down there for the money. I can't give back mama. Mama go have no time now for you walk around truck when truck come with water. If you go check hose, if do the residue in it, and check fittings, if do the residue in it, they must say, help the Parliament and give the people them work. Talk about say, make sure the truck them clean. Check for hose and fitting and make sure they don't have no particles. Look for the water, make sure they don't have no me don't know what color, me does that thing say brown crumbs. Make sure say smell the water. Look for water color. What a work them give poor people. Mighty God. Most of the people the only time them know say the water brown no smell good and have crumbs in it. I want to come through them faucet. Thank you guys for watching this video. Manners and respect to each other one. People. Jamaica to the world. What we say? Jamaica to the world. Me love you, me love you, me love you. And hey, later on, people, come have a piece of 2x4 for you. So go broke up Andrew Honest later on. You see, yeah, me go beat him. Hold on, me work for sitting for him. And me collect whole part evidence. Hold on, people. Thank you so much for watching this video. Everybody has some manners and respect with much love. I am Jamaican Carlos, and I am out.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again. What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, me say we eat the your little rat you. Use the youth, them money, waste and bust a man to statue. Say we like a catch you, but they got in a figure you. Take the spit of money, God and say that is not you. On the head, the man above him, him a got up too much, it in a dick.
Hold on there, people. They have to pull up something because I see something in the comment section. And it makes sense, you know. This is something in the comment section. I'm going to read. Let me put it up there. That's what Warmington promised. Piss in a pipe. He come in that truckload. Well, not easy, you know. I love you people. We say I love you. Social media, jaja. So people, let's continue to share information. We are grassroots people. Share information so we can make a country a better place. Find a good vlogger. Take on a picture on the video. Send to them anything about that. That's how we work. All right? Love on the people. I am Jamaican Carlos, I'm out.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You that chop line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What we gonna eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. COVID money, miss we eat the yellow correct you. Use the youth, them money, base, and bust a man to statue. Say we like a catch you, but we got in a figure you. Take this bit of money, God, and say that it's not you. One day, the man above him up, him a got a belt. But it in the kitchen, some a fiber like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% free.
It burn me.
Garbage pile up the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption fees.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again.
Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in the state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent, it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Everyone else is a victim of the theft, the deceit, the dishonesty, and the lies that corruption feeds on. You need to know that a corrupt person is stealing from you. Corruption is filthy work and despicable acts of treachery done under the table and behind closed doors. Corruption is a disgusting shame. Corruption keeps a nation back from true development and from progress. Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and national robbery. A corrupt person steals from everyone in society.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Must I tell you that it was a pleasure being here. Guys, share this if you think somebody if you hear this. I will power up my put tonight, you know, and I'm alone in my studio, you know. Me nah nobody else in here. Oh, no, it's enough work. Just I tell you that. Enough love. I'm out.